Hey guys, Solomon here. I hope you're having a great day. In today's video, we are looking at another Jan Nepomniachtchi game, really coming out of the Ponziani opening as he's going up again against Grandmaster Timur Radjabov. Now, I've mentioned before, I think the Ponziani is a very underrated opening. I would go as far as to say that I believe the Ponziani is the most underrated opening for white in the game of chess. That's my personal opinion when I look at how it performs online, when I look at the fact that it's a sound opening. It's sound, right? And there's a bunch of opening traps, but if the opponent doesn't fall for an opening trap, okay, it's still a sound opening, right? It's very strong, right? You can see it at all levels of play. I mean, we're literally, in this series, we're looking at 2 games in which case Nepo beats Radjabov with the Ponziani, right? I mean, to me, that shows that it's a very strong system, right? On top of that, great attacking chances, right? Solid fundamentals in terms of how we're approaching the game of chess, all that kind of stuff. I could list more reasons, but when I look at the opening holistically with all those factors, that's what leads me to believe that it's really the most underrated opening out there, right? And it's very rare. A lot of players aren't going to know what the heck to do against it. If you want to prepare and really become a master at this opening, I recommend that you check out my course. I will leave a link to it down in the description below and in the comments. And watch that through a few times, right? Study the lines, study all the PGNs, over 20 of them, and you are going, to really have a head start over your opponents in terms of preparation. But okay, here we go. We have this move of knight f6 from Radjabov, and now d4. Okay, now, sure, this does drop a pawn, and in the previous game, Radjabov did take that pawn, but the idea is that we have d5 trying to kick that knight around, and if the knight does move, we win that pawn right back, right? So in this game, we have the move of d6. And okay, I mean, here we have the move d5. I'm actually going to argue that d5 is not the best move for white. Okay, and I make that argument in my course. We do cover d5. I don't think it's a huge mistake or anything, and there is a trap that black can fall into there. But I would say that bishop b5 is the best move for white here, pinning that knight on c6. And even in this line, there's a couple of traps for white as well. But okay, in the game we have this move d5, and we now have bishop g5. Why is this kind of a trappy line? Well, because black could see this pawn and go, oh, that looks good. That looks like a yummy pawn to me. I'm going to take that guy. Well, guess what? You just lost your knight because of queen a4. Right? It's very easy for black to look at this move and go, okay, maybe they're trying to prepare d4, but it's easy to forget that this queen has added maneuverability because of that c3 move, right? Very next move, we're picking off that knight. I mean, here black could, if they play well, play c6 and take. And here they're down a piece for 2 pawns, but white's still much better, right? We're up a point material. There's a lot of ways you can play this position. I would personally say the best move is probably just taking off that knight. I mean, if you want to take with the bishop or something, we have bishop b5 with check, take the pawn on d5, we're chilling. If you take our queen, we take your queen, right? If you take our knight, we run away with the bishop. And by the way, if you don't take our knight and you take our bishop, our knight can go to g5, attack a couple of pawns. White with a great game there. And okay, I mean, if you take on f3, our bishop gets out. By the way, I wanted to mention that Stockfish likes this move, bishop a5. I personally would not play that. It looks a little bit weird and scary to me, just in the fact that, like, where's this bishop going? I just don't feel like that bishop has a lot of maneuverability there. But of course, Stockfish, they don't really, Stockfish doesn't calculate, oh, this feels weird, right? It just calculates, the position and checkmating, and it's very technical as opposed to subjective as people are. So I would probably here just play bishop g5. Even knowing it's the computer move, I would play that. It's just a lot more comfortable. If you take on g2, we take back with the bishop. We have 3 minor pieces. They have 2, and they do have a couple of extra pawns, but at this point in the game, it's not even close to worth it for black, right? It's just not worth it. Now, it's different if we're in an endgame and black has passed pawns, but in this case, black has 0 passed pawns. We have 3 pieces and a knight that's going to be jumping all over the place, doing stuff, having fun. Nearly a +2 advantage according to Stockfish in this position. Okay, so bishop g5, black could take on e4. Why do I not think that this is the best way to play? Right? Why do I think that this is not as good as just playing bishop b5 to start? Well, the reason for that, going over a couple moves later, is that black could play a move here like c6, right? Just starting to chip away at our center, and I'm not a fan of this position for white. I mean, we could take on f6 and try to double up black's pawn structure. We could take on c6 again. Black does have double pawns, and this pawn on f6 appears to be isolated, isolated in a sense, but of course it's not isolated due to the fact that there is a pawn on e5. But it may seem backwards, but at the end of the day, black can just play f5. Black can just play f5. right? And undouble their pawns. Look to take on e4. All of a sudden, black doesn't have double pawns. They're still going to have another pawn on f5 ready to go up. d5 is ready to go with a supporting pawn. And really, if you look at the center files, the e and d, right, and the flank files, c and f, and we count the pawns, right? How many does white have? White has 3. Black has 5. So black is simply going to steamroll us in the center much of the time. I'm taking black here any day of the week. Right, so after bishop g5, I would really recommend the move of c6 here for Rajabov, but instead we see the move of knight d7. Okay, I mean, here we have c4, drop the bishop back to e3, right? Knight c3, bishop g7, and now we have g4. I mean, this move, when I saw this, I was like, wow, Nepo ain't messing around, right? I mean, that's a move. That's a move. The rest of these are pretty basic moves for white. G4, on the other hand, very creative, and honestly a very good option for white. I think we need to get a move like this in, because if we don't, let's just say we play quiet or something, black's going to be able to play f5. And those of you that play the hippo, this kind of reminds me of a hippo for black. Castling kingside, king h7, knight f6, f4 ideas, advancing with g5. There's nothing about this that is good for white. There's nothing about it, practically or objectively. It's just not good. So, g4 really looks to put some pressure on this f5 square. And if black does go with that f5 move, we can take, maybe play a move like rook g1 there, attacking the bishop. All of a sudden, we are getting some attacking chances out of it and not just black, right? So that's the idea of g4. Black continues with a5, just a solid move, expanding on the queen side and really trying to slow down a b4 option from white. But okay, we have knight d2, h4, expanding on the king side. h5, part of me is guessing that black played h5 because black didn't want white to play the move of h5. Right, putting pressure on g6. Black there could play g5, and the position is pretty locked up on the king side of the board because white can't play f4, and black can't play f5, right? Let's just say, black just makes some kind of move like b6. We play here and here, right? If we play f4, black has a double pawn clamp on that square. We're just going to lose a pawn. If black plays f5, they're just going to lose their pawn for the same exact reason. So really, if you look from this file over, I mean, it's locked up. It's locked up, and it's going to be locked up for a while. But we're now going to kind of shift our focus to the queen side. And in this case, I think that white is the one with a lot more potential pawn breaks, a lot more ways to put pressure on the opponent here than black, right? If you look at black, you don't want to play c6 because if we take, you have a backwards pawn. d5 is weak. b5 is even weaker. b5 can't happen. We can take, right? I mean, this doesn't really do anything. So black's kind of frozen over the whole board, right? White, on the other hand, we could look at ideas like a3 and b4, right? And we may want to play b3 first, right? Because if we play a3, we face a4. This could be a little bit annoying because if b4, we have en passant. So it may be a good idea to play b3 first, then play a3. And if a4, then we play b4, and there's no en passant there, right? Generally speaking, right? This is more just talking about general strategy and our approach to the position than like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? In a line. Okay, so we probably wouldn't play a3 and b4 right away. We'd probably just continue improving our position, bishop e2, stuff like that. But okay, at the end of the day, h4, if we get h5 in, black's not going to have a ton to play for there. Okay, and of course I played the move of b6, but okay, I mean, it's just not going to be easy. So we have this move of h5, we play g5, right? Castling kingside, we have queen c2. Okay, Nepo here just continuing to develop his pieces, and I think here, I mean, this really just shows some good chess strategy from Nepo, right? Some good practical chess strategy that we can think about. Let's look at our light square bishop. If we play a move like bishop g2, what's the bishop doing? Not much. Okay, it's not terrible. The bishop on e2 is not terrible. The bishop on d3 is not terrible, but none of these squares for the bishop are amazing. Okay, they're going to be staring at really pawns on their own color, which aren't great. Okay, in our last video we talked about that, having bishops on the same color of our pawns or on the opposite color of our pawns. At the end of the day, like, this bishop's just going to be stuck. Right? Black's bishop, on the other hand, this bishop is on the opposite color of its pawn. So this bishop has a ton of range and motion here, right? Ton of flexibility. So which bishop's better? Our bishop or theirs? I would say black's is. So let's trade it off, right? We traded it off. We take back with the rook. c6 is played. c6, notice with that pawn on b7, that is something that black could have went with even if we got h5 earlier on in this game. But, I mean, c6 here, black doesn't need to take, right? And that's something I encourage you guys with. If black offers you some kind of trade or some kind of pawn exchange, just think for a second. Like, do I have to take this? Sometimes it's great to take. Okay, I'm not saying never take. Sometimes it's the best move to take. There's other times where it's like, why would I take, right? I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen if black takes my pawn, right? So here we have this move of bishop takes c5, followed by castling queenside and rook d3. Very strong play from Nepo here. I mean, just putting both of his rooks on the d file, aimed directly towards the opponent's queen. Black ends up taking on d5. We take back with the knight. Knight captures. And here it's very interesting. When I first saw this game, I was looking at rook takes d5, right? Like, what's wrong with this? I mean, this rook ain't going nowhere, right? This bishop can't kick it out, right? By the way, this bishop's kind of stuck right now because of that pawn on e5, but that bishop, that rook ain't going nowhere because of the bishop, okay? And we can give this rook support, right? We literally could, right? I mean, this rook can support it. The knight at some point could support it on a square like c3 or e3. The problem here is queen h3. And now our pawn on h4 is attacked. We can't really defend it unless we play knight f3, which just loses us a full minor piece. And okay, I mean, we could take a pawn, but they take a pawn. g5 and f2 now are starting to become very, very bad targets, or good targets if you're black. We play knight f3 to defend both immediately. That doesn't work. Queen f4 check. Our knight has to go right back unless we want to lose our minor piece. Black continues. You know, that's one of the moves they have available. This is just not great for white. It's not great, right? We're down a pawn. And black here with an h-pawn that's passed. That's not that far from that h1 square, right? So, okay, after knight takes d5, we have the move of e takes d5. This is good for two reasons. First off, this rook continues to defend h3. But on top of that, we don't want to take with this c-pawn, right? Because then we would be getting rid of our pawn that is in front of our king. Now black, if you look from the c file over to the left, right, black is outnumbering us 3-2, okay? Black, all of a sudden, black could play a move like b5 or a4 and start to attack us like crazy. Whereas if we take with the e-pawn, it's still 3-3, right? 3-3, white's chilling, okay? Black plays queen g4, going after this h4 pawn. White could have played a move like rook h1, which is personally what I probably would have played. You know, just holding onto our pawn, right? Holding onto our pawn. Notice knight f3, guys, we don't want to do this, e4, okay? It's not good. Knight h2 doesn't save anything. Because, I mean, there's a lot of things black could do there. Check, taking the pawn. Black could even take on d3, because if we take the queen, we lose ours. Okay, and if we take the pawn, then we just lost a rook. Okay, so that's not great. But okay, at the end of the day, we don't see Nepo playing a blunder like knight f3, even a move like rook h1, which isn't bad. We instead see the move of f3, giving up a pawn. And this is just some elite GM stuff, okay? I'm not going to lie to y'all, okay? I would never do this. Okay, even after seeing it, I'm like, I don't know. Why would I just want to lose a pawn? Knight e4 is played. We are attacking this pawn, but if we take that, we lose this one, right? So this is where my calculation would stop. Personally, I'd be like, okay, I lost a pawn. Black's kind of stuck, but why would I want to lose a pawn there? But here Nepo realizes this queen's kind of out of the action right now, right? We have a passed pawn on d5 supported by two rooks. We have a very strong minor piece on e4, an octopus knight here. Black, on the other hand, with a bishop that can hardly do anything. Okay, and white now focuses all of the attention towards the queen side of the board, right? We have this move b6. White continues with d6, right? King b1. Nice little prophylactic move here, right? Get that king tucked away, right? Get that king tucked away. If we move like queen f4, which is what happened in the game, it's not a check. Right, we have queen a4 and queen c6. White starting to put the heat on this b6 pawn, the backwards pawn. Black defends it. We have a3, giving this king some breathing room. Queen e6 and queen b5. I'm guessing that white played this move due to the fact that c4 was attacked. But yeah, I mean, black here plays bishop f8. Queen b3. I'm not the biggest fan of that move, honestly. I think that rook d5 just continues to kind of give black a more cramped position. You know, rook d5 is a good move there. I mean, even a move like, you know, king a1 could be played. I'm just not sure what queen b3 really does, you know, in comparison to that queen being on b5. Maybe you could let me know, you know, why you think Nepo played queen b3 there. The engine doesn't love it, but, you know, maybe y'all could tell me why you think that was played. But okay, we have the move b5, right? Black now breaking on b5, which is part of the reason I don't like it. You know, if we take here, c4 happens. And that's not good, right? So when we do see that move, we can't take. We play the move rook d5 now. Black takes on c4. We play queen c3. You know, interesting move there. Just kind of, you know, putting some pressure on e5, right? I mean, this queen putting pressure on e5, continuing to put pressure on pawns like a5, c4 still very weak. Rook b3 is played. We then take a5, right? Rook comes over, d7. Crazy move here from white. I mean, this is arguably the most impressive move from Nepo in this game, right? d7 is the best move according to the engine, and it allows black to take on b2 with check. But we now have king a1. Guys, which way would we want to go? A1 or c1? Well, the c1 is not great because black has rook b1 with check. Black could bring this queen to f4. At the end of the day, the king on c4 is less safe, right? We want our king to be tucked away as much as we can, and we want it to be safe. So king a1 here is the way to go. Okay, now our king's on a1, but black can't actually, do a great job of attacking this with the rook, right? I mean, rook a2, thanks for the rook. Rook b1, we have a rook defending that square now. Very important, right, that we have a rook there. I mean, if this rook was here, we would just lose the game in 2 moves. Rook check and checkmate. But okay, we have bishop e7, promotion to a queen. We have 2 queens on the board and 2 rooks. But of course, black takes it off. We take with check, king g7, and we have queen takes with c5. Now, it turns out that queen c7 is actually a better move. Okay, queen c7. The reason for that is that if black plays rook b1, we take the rook. And if they take our rook on d8, we take the rook. Why is this important? Well, when we take on c5, black can play the move of rook b1. And notice now, because our queen left that diagonal, black's able to take that rook on d8. Right? That being said, we play rook b6. We're still up 1 point material. Queen f5 is played. Rook f6. Great move from white, kicking that queen around. Queen takes c4 is played. I mean, that's still winning for white. Second best move there. The best move? I'm actually going to invite you guys to pause the video, right? Pause the video. Try to find the best move for white here. Okay? If you find this, you're arguably better than Nepo. Okay, so good luck. Assuming that you pause the video, the best move here for white is rook takes g6 with check. Nasty move. Okay? Great move for white. Okay? I mean, if black doesn't take the rook, what are we doing? What are we doing? Right? I mean, white's just winning that. If black takes with the f pawn, queen e7 with check. Throw in another check. Throw in another check. Check and mate. Right? That's one of the ways that can play out, but we're gonna have force mate. If black ends up taking with that f pawn, we're gonna have force mate. If a move like king takes, queen b6 with check. Right? And the best move here for white is queen e6, but we still win that rook. And we're up, a piece for a pawn here, but this king is very vulnerable to attack. F6 is an idea for white. Queen g8 is an idea for white. There's a lot of stuff in the air here. Okay, this king's in major trouble. Okay, and it's really trying to defend against a queen and a knight, which is the most dangerous combo in the game of chess, right? A queen and a bishop, they move the same. A queen and the rook, they move the same. A queen and a knight, the knight is the only piece that can do something that the queen can't. And when we can combine those two factors together, very dangerous options. But okay, I mean, we have this move after queen h3 of queen takes c4 instead. Still winning. We're just up 2 pawns, especially from a practical standpoint. We have king a2. Black here continues with queen d7. We have rook b6, just kind of getting this rook over and, kind of making a presence known on the queen side a little bit. h4 is played from black, and we have rook b8. Okay, rook b8, we're looking at that back rank now, right? We're maneuvering. And the very next move, we have queen c5. Okay, threatening a mate in 2. Okay, now, I mean, in this position, it's tough. It's tough for black. I mean, what can you do, right? I was looking at this move, queen e6. I was thinking, okay, maybe black can start to open up that king. I mean, it looks like the king's kind of open, but Nepo has placed his pieces in such a position where everything's kind of covered, right? Every check that black could think of is covered right now. This king is safe, right? And queen f8 is on the way, right? It's on the way. It's just simply winning for white. So, okay, after queen c5, black plays queen d5 out of desperation, offering up a trade. But after queen takes here, we have a resignation from black, because if rook takes, we have knight f6, rook g8 on the way. This is what you call a mating net. This king cannot get out. Rook g8 is going to be checkmate. And let's just look at what the computer recommends. The computer recommends rook d2, rook d3, and rook d2, offering up a rook. And basically what this means is that black is just trying to survive for as many moves as they possibly can, right? And okay, I mean, if h2 or something, rook g8, we have ourselves a game over. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to the channel as well as hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of the chess content we have dropping soon. On top of that, I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of September in 2023. We have some recently added benefits on top of what we already had, which is quite a bit. And that includes exclusive PGNs to every new Chess Giant video that comes out, as well as a once a month session, in which case I go over patrons' personal games. I'll see y'all in the next one.